everyone. Welcome to episode 43 of Infrastructure Matters. I'm Krista Macomber, and I'm joined this week with both of my co-hosts, Camberley Bates and Steven Dickens. Camberley and Steven, how are you today?
Good. It's getting the gang back together. We haven't been all three of us in a while.
I
That's
know.
true.
Between travel and everybody's schedules it's that time of the year, right?
It's crazy.
Yep. So with that,
hang out with Camberley a little bit this week, though. We seem to have been on a bunch of calls, which always makes me happy.
Yeah.
Little things that make you happy, Steve. I'm very lucky.
I mean, calls with Camberley is always a highlight of my day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There we go. Okay.
You're not going to reciprocate. She's just going to let that one fly by.
Oh, Steve, we love you. We love you dearly. My brother in crime and technology. So.
Yeah.
And you know brothers and sisters argue, right?
Yeah, Camberley, I described Camberley.
To my friends out there that ever see us exchange a little bit.
Yeah, we've had a few testy, we cut across each other, but we...
Feisty, not testy, feisty.
My sister from
would you
another...
take control of this, Krista?
Right.
Otherwise, it's going downhill. You're the lead on this one.
I know. So with that, Steven, I know you had, quite a few things this week you wanted to go over. I think first starting by looking at MongoDB. So why don't we kind of just jump in on that?
Yeah, so busy week for earnings, still seeing the sort of tail end of earnings come through. So MongoDB announced earnings, top line revenue up 22%. I think we're starting to see these guys see AI come through into their numbers. Strong ARR growth, which was good. I think, revenue increasing up here to, what was it, 450 million. Strong growth. I mean, I think the way I'd contextualize this, and I'm literally writing an earnings note as we speak, because they announced earnings last night, and I was at our customer appreciation event, so it's kind of scramble into it and then jump on this call. I think the way I contextualize sort of the strong momentum is people are starting to reimagine their data stack for the tsunami of apps that are coming through AI. And you're starting to see that, really good conversations with Oracle in this space as well. So that what was probably, I don't want to say a sleepy market in the database space, because obviously Mongo has been disrupting that for a few years. But I think that was a kind of normal trajectory of new, fast-moving entrant coming in, disrupting somebody like an Oracle. I think if I look at it now, we're going to see that whole stack kind of be reimagined as AI drives and kind of pulls that along. And Mongo's well placed for that. So, I mean, that's the way I'm looking at the earnings. I do not understand the equities guys at all, because the stock is down this morning, but they seem to beat across the board from what I could tell. Whether that's just bad timing from being a tech stock with the market sort of hitting a sort of pause right now. As I say, I never understand the equities guys and what happens the day after earnings get announced. Maybe that's why I'm doing this and not picking stocks, but
I know that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah, I can understand the technology. I try and look at the markets and I'm like, none of this makes sense. But I mean, strong set of numbers from MongoDB and a consistent trend.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I think the comment regarding AI and sort of how databases, how the requirements are shifting there, I think, of course, we're obviously certainly seeing that as AI applications start to be used more frequently, by enterprises. And, your comment regarding the ARR, I know the companies that I've been covering, that's, I think, a key metric we're really starting to look at across the technology space as we start to see some of these new delivery models. So it certainly makes sense from my perspective.
Yeah, I always look at two things, ARR growth and then large customer growth within the numbers. So if you're growing your ARR, that's good, but you could be getting that from a bunch of small clients. If I see that growing and I see the percentage of, some vendors do it a percentage of revenue from clients above a particular size. Some of them do it of, revenue for deals over clients over 100K or 250K. There is no consistent measure of what's a big client for a vendor, but they are consistent quarter to quarter mentioning that number. So I look for that trend as well. And then we've obviously got Rule of 40 growth as a kind of North Star. But if you're looking for those sort of three things, that's a pretty good way of looking. As I say, I don't know what the equities guys look at, but that's what I'm tending to be looking at.
Oh yeah, absolutely makes sense. So why don't we continue our earnings tour? Camberley, I know you looked at both NetApp and Pure over the past week from an earnings perspective, correct?
Yeah, so I'll take on Pure since they were the first ones out the door. And if you would allow me to kind of take a look at my notes, wherever my notes are, there they are. Just revenue was up about a double-digit revenue growth. They hit a number of 693, or which was below where they expected to be. In terms of their areas, they are doing, the revenue and subscriptions is good, although it had a bit of a slowdown, a little bit less than what they expected. I don't know if they're saturating the market or not. I'm going to be curious to see. We see that trending, and people are that subscription, but as a service kind of capability. How they absorb it. There's customers that really like the CapEx strategy. There's customers that really like the storage as a service strategy. So we'll see where that balances out over time. And there's certain companies that are heavy down on that kind of space, but I think there needs to be a blend in the strategy there. As we would expect, they are very focused on the AI workload demands, although as I think Charlie Giancarlo had said, while they're seeing some evidence of the AI workload demands, it hasn't done this huge uptick that we've seen in the server environment, and probably starting also in the network environment. It's still kind of like, it's getting there, but it hasn't really kicked in, and that's kind of consistent with what we're hearing from some other people in the market space. What I will comment on is where they see there's two areas that Charlie is seeing some big areas for the AI, and that is one in the large public or private GPU farms where they're setting up these big areas. And I know we've talked to Lenovo, and they're definitely focused on that place. The second area is the inference engine and the RAG environments. Again, for most of the companies, the inference engine market seems to be where we all are looking to say, okay, so after we get all this training, then we got to deploy it. We're deploying it at the edge. We're deploying it at every retail store, every supermarket, every mining area, etc. So that's where the big uptick will be. A couple of other items, and FlashBlade had a good Q1, which was also including AI workloads. So that's good to see that that's continuing to uptick. And they're doubling down on their high capacity QLC system, which is growing significantly. And I'm sure what it's doing is taking out more of the HDD market that's out there as well. So I will pause there, because otherwise I'm going to be really boring people here if I just keep on rolling through all of this and see if there's any questions or any comments from anybody.
Yeah, I think as you're alluding to, Kimberly, I think a lot of components at play. I think for me personally, your comments on FlashBlade, always are interesting, as I kind of tend to look at those protection environments. I'm still catching up on Pure's earnings. Did they mention anything around Portworx, or sort of kind of the container, kind of protection play there? That's one thing that I've been, trying to keep an eye on myself.
It's mostly been focused completely on the other core areas that's there. Not a whole lot on the Portworx or Alex. I'm not grabbing one right now off the top of my head, so I can't comment on that.
That makes sense.
On the NetApp side, they did exceed the midpoint of their guidance, although year over year, they were slightly down, just like a 1%, but quarter over quarter, they are up 6%, which is good. Their focus, and this is kind of a similar trend I'm seeing coming out of the other vendors, which is a heavy focus on platform. And they cite one of the nice things about NetApp is cited a couple wins based upon platform. In particular, there was one very large customer that they went into that was going to be buying block and file, two separate vendors, two separate environments. And they have bought all of it from one vendor. And that is because there's a platform approach. And what I mean by a platform approach is that there's the UI, the infrastructure, user interface infrastructure enables them to manage both those environments. And then for NetApp, there's definitely some synergies between those two kind of technologies where they can, within their snapshot capability, their data protection capabilities that they have for the system. So that's a pretty powerful play. We're seeing that same theme coming out of the other companies. And particularly, you see that out of kind of Pure talking about their Purity software and being that single platform piece. What that does is it streamlines the operational, pressures that are on the client, on the customer base, and helps them through. What we're doing right now is not enough staff to do the things you want to do. We saw one of the things they highlighted at NetApp was their storage as a service offering had an uptick up until this time. They've kind of been quiet about it, but this has definitely has seen an uptick with them. So I think they've got plenty of room to grow within their client base to penetrate in terms of offering the service, which is using it by the byte, the gigabyte by the byte kind of thing. They too, like everybody else, really hammered down about where they are with their AI space. One of the values, the big competitive positions that they highlight is they are, the largest file system that's out there. They were the original guys that were out there as network file system. So they've got this very strong play in that space. So they do have the ability to go in there and say to the customers, oh, we have this, let's expand this out into the other use cases or the other environments. You already know us, you already trust us, which is a powerful play as opposed to a competitive win where you got to take it out and convert and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see how that competitive game plan pans out.
I saw that just on the file system stuff. I saw a really great demo of NetApp with Vertex from Google, exactly on that plan. It stood out for me. I've had hundreds of demos over the last sort of year on AI. It seemed that one of the simplest ways to untap and tap into your corpus of data that's in your storage systems today, all of this file information, and put that up to a large language model and be able to have it run off your data in a private environment rather than have to put move that data to the cloud to then put it in a cloud-based LLM model. So I'm with you there, Camberley. That makes a lot of sense for me. And I think given where they are from a file perspective and the file server space, that's as we start to see AI get deployed more in enterprises, in private deployments, I think that might be an interesting dynamic to watch.
Yeah, and there's going to be a trade-off of performance to what I'm familiar with, the capabilities, scale, all those will come to play. Also price. See. The last
just that little minor thing that often matters, right? How much does it cost?
And it just depends upon how big this data is going to end up getting. That we have out there.
But I mean, bring the AI to the data rather than taking the data to the AI is a trend I'm seeing more and more. So I think, given the amount of file data that NetApps have got, that's pretty important, I think.
Yeah. And he also said George Curry also talked about how we're only in the beginning stages of this. So
his brother might disagree, though. What do you think on the two angles of that?
Well, I mean, if you read them through, there's some similar threads that you see along those. And since we're sitting on these guys back to back, it's kind of like, okay, I heard that one. Okay, I heard that one there. Let's match these. There's a line here.
The last thing to take it all to the Google Cloud. The other brother wants you to keep it all on-prem on a NetApp's file. Which one's going to work?
There you go. The last one I'll mention is we've heard, again, they're seeing several environments where customers are looking at their hyper-converged VMware landscape, looking to optimize their VMware licenses and are using coming in. So that what they're coming into with is their C series, which is their QLC device, which is it's not a lower end device. It would be a lower end than a TLC kind of environment in terms of possible performance. But this new system comes in there as a very cost performer. And so this, again, okay, so they're seeing that everybody else we're talking to, okay, here's the PS services for VMware conversion. Here's the Nutanix strategy. Here's the Dell strategy. Here's the HPE strategy. Okay, Hawk, we'll see what you're going to end up doing at the end of the year, right?
Optimize your VMware licenses is code for a lot of things.
And I think he's perfect. I also actually really believe that Hawk is perfectly fine with seeing this optimization going on. So this is it's not that he didn't see this coming. This is no new news to him. So anyway, with that, I will turn it back to the lovely Krista to go to the next one.
Yeah, I think we have a couple more earnings, believe it or not. I know Lenovo, right, Steven? I know is one you were kind of talking about before we hit record here.
Yeah, so Camberley and I literally just came off a call with Kirk Skaugen, who's the SVP over there, responsible for infrastructure. Always look forward to those calls. Kirk is one of the best and the brightest.
Okay, can I say storage again?
You can say storage. Take it off me. Go for
it. Okay, I'm going to say two things about storage. For those that don't know, they are number one in the entry market. And they're number 3 in worldwide market for storage in terms of the revenues, according to IDC. So turn it over to you. There you go. Because people don't realize that.
Well, yeah,
they don't realize how big they are.
I mean, take that up one level and agree. I mean, the mix of non-PC revenue, 45% non-PC. I think a lot of people think of Lenovo as a PC company. That's where they started. I don't think people are giving them the credit of where they are from a perspective around their enterprise space. Kirk does a fantastic job. We just got a 45-minute sort of masterclass in a senior exec knowing their numbers. I think for me, Camberley hit it really well. Storage. I see these guys on a path to getting to number 2. How they do that, they're going to have to invest in the marketing. They're going to have to double down. See some really good things with their One Lenovo strategy around how they're investing in their sales force to be able to sell the complete mix. So I think, obviously AI PC is starting as a mega trend. So that's going to be interesting to see that come through. I think we're early days on that. We're starting to see a lot of innovation from Qualcomm and Broadcom and other players kind of in that ecosystem. So that's going to be really interesting. One of the things that also stood out from our conversation, fastest growing Android phone, the flip phones, the Motorola Razr is back. So, Kirk's not the expert on that. That's other people in his business. But, his face lit up when he talked about that. I think
he was obviously very proud of their position.
Yeah. I mean, they talk about pocket to cloud, and we spent a whole bunch of time. We didn't talk about Motorola Razr. There's other people in our team that covers that. Olivier Blanchard is the guy. So I wrote the coverage note with him on that because he covers the sort of PC and devices. But I think the other interesting piece, and I'd love to get your perspective because we haven't had a chance to chat. It was literally just before this. That whole ODM versus OEM dynamic. Lenovo is a ODM provider into cloud companies, so they're providing into the Microsoft Azure stack. They're providing into Amazon, AWS. They're going into Google. They're going into Alibaba. All these guys as an ODM provider, and then they obviously sell to enterprises as an OEM provider. Dell and HPE don't do that.
No.
You're right. Too much.
So HPE got out of that business.
Yeah.
They got out of the business because it is a very low margin business, and you have to have, this gets back into, what are you doing? And if you are in a high touch business, providing services, doing what HPE does, that's too difficult to manage. Those are two different types of
Hmm.
companies that you're managing
Yep.
through. Novo has got the chops to do that because that is what they're designed to do.
Yeah.
If you look at that, their storage business is not a necessarily, they haven't developed the storage software. What they are doing is they are selling others people's, but they're extremely good at doing what they're doing and getting it to the market. So you can almost look at this company as this manufacturing engine. A lot of Intel people are over there, right? Manufacturing engine that's PCs, devices, servers, etc., that can customize at scale.
Hmm.
And they are a big distribution company, because they're 100% channel focused. That's what they do. And they know how to do this, and they know how to do custom. So if you look at what's going on their HPC side of the house, a lot of that, when you're building out for a big research facility, that's all custom kind of work. So they know how to do this, and they know how to do this at scale. And then that goes into what he was talking about in terms of all their investments in different countries.
Well, so,
You've been over to Hungary. They just announced the big relationship that they're going to have with the Crown Prince Saudi Arabia. They're going to be putting they're going to build a plant there for manufacturing. They're going to move their headquarters to Riyadh. I mean, this is all very big investments they're making, but it's investments on what they do and do really well, which is that manufacturing side of the
well, I
house.
mean, the one data point that stood out for me: 600 motherboard engineers.
Yes.
I mean, that's not a tiny team. That's a big team going after design wins. That's
Mhm.
significant investment with AMD and Intel. They're doing as Camberley said, these custom systems for the cloud providers. That's a moat. If you're a HPE or a Dell or a Supermicro, to just getting the 600 smart people to come and join your team to give you that capability is not something you can build in a moment's notice. So really impressed. I always come off buzzing after my calls with Kirk. The guy's just a masterclass in knowing where the business is going, having the numbers at his fingertips. So always come away impressed from those calls with Lenovo.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know we had a couple other things we wanted to touch on quickly. Stephen, that you brought up on being elastic.
Yes.
If we want to
So
pivot. Yep.
yeah, run fast through Elastic again. Another one that dropped last night. So trying to sort of get that through again. One of the key metrics here was annual contract value. Elastic tracks that at deals over 100K. They've now got 1,330 customers spending more than 100K with them annually. I think,
Impressive.
given where they are as an open source company, that's interesting. Elastic Cloud revenue topped 148 million in Q4. That's a 32% year increase. So
Hmm.
some high level metrics there. This company's really well placed. There's three areas that the Elastic focuses on. They're focused on the security space, they're focused
Yep.
on AI, and they're focused on observability. All those
Yep.
markets are growing. So not a super big name. Ash Kulkarni's doing a great job there as CEO of getting out and trying to tell that story. Daniel's had
Hmm.
him on Making Markets a couple of times talking about earnings. I've spoken to him. I think, you
I
know,
did a video with them at RSA as well a couple of weeks ago.
yeah, so
Yep.
they're doing a good job of getting the story out. I think for me, being exposed to those three markets that are growing so quickly, if they can get their stories straight and continue as they are on getting that message out, I mean, there's work to do,
Hmm.
on sort of profitability. But I think overall, I'm sort of bullish. But as again, I'm not an equities guy. I just look at the technology trends and kind of where they're exposed. I think they're in good shape.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'm very positive in terms of what they're doing in the Security Operations Center, and how they're really kind of positioning against some of these traditional SIM tools. So I would definitely agree with you, Stephen.
Yeah. I need to check out
And
your video. You need to send me that offline. I didn't see that
yeah,
one. So.
yep, yep. We'll include that in the show notes for sure as well. And I know we have maybe 2 minutes. We can do a quick drive-by regarding Oracle Cloud Infrastructure in Morocco. I know, Stephen, that was one more item you wanted to touch on today.
Yeah, another announcement for sovereign cloud. And just keep seeing this trend. We've had AWS in Japan, we've had Oracle in Japan, we've had IBM in Canada. We've now got OCI in Morocco. The interesting one for me is this is the first cloud provider in North Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So don't often hear about the cloud providers investing in Africa. We just heard about Lenovo investing in Middle East, but we don't often hear about Africa. So good
Right.
to good to see that just from a geopolitical point of view. I'm always a big fan, investing in other parts of the world. But I'm really interested with what Oracle's doing around sovereign cloud. I think what they're doing with Alloy, what they've got with Cloud at Customer, some interesting stuff. So I'm trying to get a more detailed briefing out of the guys on Oracle because there's a thread there that I want to pull on around what they're doing in sovereign cloud.
Yeah, perfect. All right, and with that, we are officially out of time. Camberley, Stephen, thank you. It's always a great way to kind of kick off our Friday here and wrap up the week. And thank you to our listeners. Make sure that you like and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. We're here recording every single week. And thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.